Jason Bourne. Okay. Welcome to Shitty Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Alex. I saw Jason Bourne. And, I mean, okay. This movie was really cool. I mean, this movie was really cool. Now, it was a little preachy, a little on the nose sometimes about what they were trying to say. We'll get to that. But the action was pretty freaking awesome. I gotta say, it was pretty great. So it's a Bourne movie. It's a Bourne movie. You know, you're not gonna expect it to be, some masterwork piece of art, but that doesn't mean that it was bad. It was a Bourne movie. It was the action movie that you expected it to be. And actually, I like Bourne movies better than I like Bond movies. And I know that is going to make some people so upset to hear. But Bourne movies appeal to me because they feel more real. There's always like this sense of fantasy in a Bond movie, and while there's like suspended disbelief in a Bourne movie, there's a realism and a tension and a grit, I guess you could say, to a Bourne movie that you just don't get in that. And actually, Bond movies have been trying to do closer to the Bourne thing, it seems, and not quite as successfully, because Bourne movies make a lot of money. So, it's the characters that it's Jason Bourne, there's the, Jesus, there's Nikki Parsons, there's Julia Stiles, there's the head of the FBI, which oh man, what is his name? It's killing me, I swear. Did I not? Shit, I did not. You know what? Anyways, it's the FBI director, the same guy who's Jay in Men in Black. Anyways, we all know who he is. That's not the point. So, basically, the point of this movie was to bring up the idea of digital privacy versus national security. Topical. The movie decided to be topical. And actually, it brought up a couple of fair points throughout the movie, but it didn't really come down on a side, it seemed, at the end. At the end, it was basically, well, they kind of came down on a side. They came down on the side of that the government censors everybody by scaring them or by buying them or, any other, by controlling companies. But we'll get into that. See, the action in this movie was fucking great. It was fucking great. Holy shit. I was like riveted during the action scenes. They were long action scenes too, but they never felt like really dull. They were shot well, and just the way that the scenes kept moving, you're like, is it gonna end yet? Oh my god, it's still going! But in a way that's good. You're like, it's still going, but yes! Awesome, it's still going! I mean, and they end it like right when you're like, alright, I'm about done, is when the scene is like, okay, alright, yeah, we'll have like a short hand-to-hand sequence, and then we'll wrap the scene up. We'll get back to other more intense spy stuff. So, there was a car chase scene that was just, I'm not really a big fan of car chase scenes. They don't normally have like a lot of tension for me. So even movies like Mad Max, Fury Road were like, I was like, it was pretty awesome, but normally, but I mean, this was a good, this was definitely a good car chase scene. I definitely felt the tension and just how absolutely crazy this scene was. Anyways. And then, so, kind of, the plot is that they start off by introducing this company, Deep Dream, which is an app platform, and it's got like, they say like 500,000 apps, whatever, super secure, ultra private, you know, government doesn't know what you're doing on your phone. Yeah, privacy. We don't sell your information or give it away, which means, of course, in, you know, the spirit of the movie, that they are immediately going to turn around and find out that he's giving their information to the government, which is exactly what fucking happens. And in a meeting immediately fucking afterwards, he's with the FBI director, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore, it feels dirty. And the FBI director's like, well, you know, you're kind of obligated now. He's like, but we didn't really want to do this in the first place. And the FBI director's like, all of your actions have been entirely voluntary. Because all of your actions have been entirely voluntary up until this point. It's like, your cooperation is, you know, basically required. It's not. We're going to say that it's not, but that's misleading because it actually is. So he's threatening to basically blow everything. He's like, I'm going to let all of it go. You know, they're going to this security expo in Vegas. Just big expo conference thing on security. So then they cut over. So basically, the FBI director and the Deep Dream CEO are doing a panel together. That's why they're both going to this convention. Okay. And the guy is like, well, the CEO is like, well, maybe we're going to blow things. He doesn't say that, but the FBI guy basically figures it out. Gets sold out to by one of the CEO's underlings. So, then we finally cut over to characters that we're more familiar with. So, Nicky Parsons is somewhere in, like, Sweden or something. Not Sweden, Iceland, Greenland, something like that. She's somewhere and she hacks into the CIA database. When I said FBI, I meant CIA. CIA director. Anyways. And so, she hacks into the CIA, downloads all the files on all these projects like Blackbriar and Iron Hand and things like that. You're like, Iron Hand? What's Iron Hand? Well, Iron Hand is another subplot in this movie, which was weird. There's a few subplots. Anyways, not much result though. Again, it's weird. So, Nicky Parsons, played by Julia Stiles, hacks into it, downloads all this shit, boom, onto a USB. CIA track down that she's doing it. Boom. And they stick a piece of malware on her laptop. She's like, hey, I gotta find Bourne. And so she basically tracks him down to Greece, and where he's fighting, he's doing like boxing matches for cash. So Parsons basically tracks down Bourne. They meet up. They get a. This is where the CIA is like, oh my god, we've got both of them. Let's get both of them at once. And so this is the CIA's attempt to bring down Bourne. And so there's this big protest that's going on in Athens, and it basically turns into a riot, and there's the streets of Athens are burning, and there's this big long escape sequence where Bourne and Parsons are escaping from Vincent Cassel, who is playing a British guy and is kind of the bad guy. Kind of. I don't know. He was basically just doing his duty and the entire time, and you know, yes, he killed Jason Bourne's father, which is what's revealed in this movie, is that the project that Jason Bourne's father didn't want Jason Bourne in the program, and so was trying to make it so that Jason Bourne wouldn't be picked for the program, but they had him under surveillance basically for a long-ass time, and they blew up his father. The project managers themselves. Insane. Insane. So, apparently, the guy who, Vincent Cassel, the reason why he got picked is because his, that's right, his cover was blown by the previous hack that Jason Bourne did in the last movie, or his last leak, or whatever. There, apparently it was a big deal, and this guy, his cover got blown, and bad things happened, and now he wants to be the one to take down these two. And so he's trying to kill Bourne while Bourne's on the back of a motorcycle, and he shoots Parsons, who dies. They killed off fucking Julia Stiles in the movie, and I was like, what? And this is only like 15 minutes into the movie! 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, where the fuck are we gonna get a new love interest from? Don't worry, we get one. Kind of, I think. Maybe? I'm not quite sure. So, Bourne gets the USB drive, though. He manages to recover it from Parsons' body before, you know, or she tosses it to him right before she gets shot. So then he goes to Berlin to have it decrypted because apparently it's a hardware decryption, and the guy who made it, that's where he is. Okay. So they start going through the files, and that's when Jason Bourne finds out about all of the surveillance that was on him, as he gets to see a bunch of the stuff from the project that he was on, which I don't remember the name of off the top of my head. I don't remember. I thought it was Blackbriar, but whatever. I don't know. So he finds out that he's been watched for a long-ass fucking time, and that he was being groomed for the position eventually. The malware that the CIA have kicks back on, remotely deletes the files, but he's seen enough. So they have Heather Lee, who is played by Alicia Vikander, who I'm culling possibly the anti-hero love interest. So they've got conflict. So Bourne and Heather Lee have conflicting worldviews. And Victor is a young data security expert who's progressive in her security values and plans to kind of wants to root out some of the old corruption in the department. Finally gets introduced to Bourne. She texts him, letting him know that there's a team coming after him. Which you're like, okay, this is interesting. She doesn't want him to necessarily just be killed. Huh. So, then Bourne escapes to London, finds the guy who was watching him in the 90s, who was named Malcolm. And then Heather Lee is like, hey, and instead of killing Bourne, we should bring him back in, because he's a patriot, and he's been AWOL for a long time, and I bet that he's seen some shit. And I mean, look at how hard he's been to bring in. He's still a fat ass. Imagine if we had him back on our side. So, Castle, the British asset, killed Bourne's father. He's like, I'll be on your team to capture Bourne. And of course, he takes down the other team members because he wants to kill Bourne, not capture him. So then Malcolm, the security company guy who was the guy who was scoping out Bourne, the asset actually ends up shooting Malcolm. And then Bourne uses him as a bullet shield and jumps off a roof. And then Heather Lee decides that she's like, hey, Bourne, stuff is happening. Why don't you take this passport clearance so you can come to this expo in Vegas, where I'm going to be, and where the CIA director is going to be, as well as this guy in Deep Dream, because that might have been what Iron Hand was about. It was about big data, spying on everyone, basically, kind of thing. I think, I don't know, like, what all the different projects were was, like, really confusing. There was, like, a lot of plot threads that almost nothing happened on, but they're like, these are a plot thread. We may do this. This may be important in another movie, but we're not going to we're going to introduce it, and we're going to say that it's kind of like important, but we're not going to talk too much about it or go into too much detail, because that'd take time. So, the Deep Dream CEO is about to reveal at the panel that he's been put under the CIA's thumb. Boom! And he gets shot by the British asset, who the CIA was basically like, shut him up. Shoot me too if you have to, said the CIA director to Castle. And Bourne is the only one who figures out where the shooter is, and it's behind a vent. And then they go into this big fucking escape, like, chase scene where tons of shit is happening. And, like, people are fleeing to different areas, CIA director's going to his room, basically getting bunkered down and shit. And so Bourne heads up to the CIA director's room. The director's like, hey, you should come in. You should come back and be, like, part of the CIA again, and stuff. And he doesn't do a very good job. He's very bad at the psychological, getting into his head and, like, being like, hey, you should be with us. Like, this is where you should be. Doesn't do a very good job of that. So, Bourne shoots the guard, and right as he's about to get shot, Lee Ex Machina, Heather Lee, Alicia Vikander, comes in and shoots the CIA director. Boom! I was like, fuck yeah! We have murder in the workplace! Yes! Holy shit, she's gonna blame Bourne for it. Even though she was all like flirting and stuff, that's what I thought. She's not. Kind of. A little bit. She said she was gonna clean it up. Not sure what that means. So, then the British asset steals a fucking armored SWAT van. Because now there's been shots, you know, at this convention, and from somewhere, and somebody's been injured, more than one person's been injured. People freaking the fuck out. Police trying to get a handle on it, and he fucking steals an armored SWAT van, which is fucking badass. And Bourne steals a Dodge Charger, I believe. It's a little bit of product placement. And so Bourne chases him through the streets of Vegas, and the SWAT van just literally just plows through cars on the street. Like, it's like, oh hey look, there's like traffic stopped, and it's just like car coat. It's like it just like chugs through, and cars are like flying off here and there. Just cars being shed off right and left, and then Bourne coming up behind. This armored car goes through like fucking everything. It's like they're like, okay, so what can an armored SWAT van actually, like, how strong is it actually? And they were like, well, they're actually like pretty strong, you know. They're made to be able to withstand like bullets and charges from detonations, and so you know they're pretty tough vehicles. And like, well, what could we like drive it through a street full of cars and like just plow through it? And they're like, well, you know, you shouldn't do something like that because, you know, it's bad, but you probably could. And they're like, okay, that's what we're doing. It's like, oh my god, that's awesome. And it was fucking great. Fucking great. And then, but this was a very long chase scene. There was a point where like, and there was a point where the van went like off of like a small bridge, and I would have been like, nah, it was like a ramp onto another part of the road, and I would have been like, no, I mean, you killed my father. And you shot the CEO. But you know what? This chase scene has gone on a long time. I think I'm about done. I think I'm just gonna go home. I'll find you tomorrow or something. You know, whatever. It'll be fine. Oh, but it had to be like 20 minutes. They finally, after the SWAT van, like fucking crashes into a casino, just through the wall, through the doors, into the slot machines, fucking destroyed. Just the scene. I could just imagine, like, everyone just, you know, they're just sitting there, slot things, and they're playing, whatever, and then just suddenly crash, and there is a SWAT van, like, feet away from you, hitting the slot machines, you know, on the next rack over, and you're just like, I better get a fuck ton of free play credit. Yeah. So then they fight in the sewers. really matter how they got there, but they got there. So then the sewers, and the British guy nearly chokes out Bourne with a piece of rubber hose, and then Bourne flips the fight around and breaks the guy's fucking neck in a move of somewhat brutal badassery. So then the guy in Deep Dream comes out of the hospital afterwards and just, basically the fight's over. We're wrapping things up now. And he seems somewhat quelled by the incident. They're like, so what were you going to talk about? What were you going to talk about at your panel? And he's like, well, I was just going to talk about private security. I'm going to wait until news about the attempted shoot, until news about the shooter comes out. I'm not going to say anything. And you're like, ooh. Right, government fear tactics worked. Ooh. That's not the kind of ending that you want for a story. Heather Lee puts her name in for the new director. She is going to a park, presumably to meet with Bourne. And she's talking to whoever else is in the car with her. And they're like, so, do you think Bourne will come back? She's like, well, I think that he might. He's a patriot, blah, 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 all the stuff that we already know about and said, she's like, well, I think I can bring him in. I think, I got a pretty good grasp on him, maybe can manipulate him a bit, kind of thing, And he's like, well, what if you don't? What if you can't? What if you can't bring him in? What if you can't bring him in? He said, well, I guess we'll just have to neutralize him. And she's like, but it's all in the down low. It's all in the down low. She goes, she meets Bourne in the park. He says, yeah, I'll think about rejoining him. I know where to find you. Lee makes her way back to her car, and she finds a piece of surveillance equipment that Jason Bourne stole from a table at one of the expo booths it says like record. It was like a recording device for like things that they're like 50 or 100 feet away, and it shows that he was recording their conversation driving in the car behind her. He left the conversation, the box with it saying that he overheard fucking everything. And she's just like, oh God, what did I do? What have I done? I mean, it was a fun movie. Was it great? Nah. I mean, but it was what I wanted it to be, and it was fun. It was a good popcorn movie. I'd give it probably, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10. It was fun. It was actiony. Wasn't plot heavy, but it was fun. Kind of had a message, a little bit muddled, but whatever. It's not a big deal. Anyways, if you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe. Next time, I'm doing Suicide Squad! Why so serious? Even though that's not the right Joker.